Good afternoon, Tarleton Texans. Today is November 4th, 2013, and you are watching the Texan Sports Minute with this sports maniac, Trevor Pill. The weekend was full of action with blowouts, close games, and last-minute victories. Some of the top headlines include Tarleton Football clinches a share of the LSC title, Tarleton Basketball set to have first game, college football winners and losers, Dallas Cowboys pull off late-game win, and more. According to Tarleton Sports, for the first time since 2009, the Tarleton State football team has clinched at least a share of the Lone Star Conference Championship with a 45-20 victory over Texas A&M Kingsville at Javelina Stadium Saturday night in Kingsville. It feels great to get this win and clinch the championship, Tarleton head coach Kerry Fowler said. I've already told our players not to take a sigh of relief yet, though, because we still have 2 games left and we have to see how far we can go. The Texans snapped a 2-game losing streak with a win and improved to 6-2 overall in the year. While closing out the conference schedule at 5-1 to clinch at least a share of the title, Tarleton has just 2 non-conference games left on its schedule and are currently tied with Eastern New Mexico, who downed West Texas A&M 39-38 in Canyon on Saturday, and Midwestern State, as both teams have just 1 conference loss as well. Midwestern State University will travel to Eastern New Mexico University next week before closing out the season against West Texas A&M in Wichita Falls on Saturday, November 16th. Another loss from both Eastern New Mexico and Midwestern State would give the Texans its first ever outright LSC championship in school history. The Tarleton offense racked up 579 yards of total offense on just 67 plays Saturday night, throwing the ball for 374 yards and gaining 205 yards on the ground. Jake Fentz completed 22 passes for 313 yards and a pair of touchdowns, while Leonard Myers notched his second 100-yard receiving effort of the season with a game-high 102 yards. Zach Henshaw led the Texans on the ground for a 3rd straight week, tallying 94 rushing yards on just 12 carries. Henshaw had another 24 yards and a touchdown on the receiving end as well, giving him 3 consecutive games with 100-plus yards and all-purpose yardage. Marquise Wadley, who got the Texans on the board first with his 39-yard touchdown run off a fake punt. Jerome Regal and Cody Burster each tallied over 30 rushing yards and a score for the Texans. Clifton Rhodes III had 5 catches for 91 yards and a score for Tarleton's other receiving touchdown. Andre Plata did not have a catch on the evening, but he did complete 1 pass for a 37-yard touchdown that went to Myers on an end-around play. We made some great stops defensively tonight, especially after a few turnovers there, Fowler said. We were able to come back and force some turnovers of our own and keep playing. I think the turning point was the goal line stand just before the end of the first half. For us to stop them down there, they really gave us the momentum going into the Javelinas, who fell to 2-6 overall and 0-5 in LSC, managed to record 473 yards of total offense on the night, but were just 4 for 13 on 3rd downs and scored just 3 times on 6 red zone opportunities. Wadley led the Texans defensively with 15 total tackles, a quarterback hurry, and 1 interception. Jake Blount had 5 tackles on the evening and a game-high 2 sacks as he continues to lead the squad with 6 sacks on the season. Deshaun Phillips had 4 tackles on Saturday and registered a season-high 4 pass breakups as well. The Texans will return home next weekend to face Southwestern Oklahoma for the first time since 2009. Kickoff between the Texans and Bulldogs is set for 2 p.m. at Tarleton Memorial Stadium in Stephenville. The Tarleton State men's basketball team will play host to LSU Shreveport on Tuesday, tomorrow, November 5th, in the Texans' lone exhibition contest of the season. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. inside Wisdom Gym, and admission is free for the public. LSU Shreveport is a National Association of Intercollegiate Athletics school located in Shreveport, Louisiana. The Pilots were ranked number 2 in the preseason and were picked to win the Red River Conference. LSU Shreveport is coming off a 93-83 win over Science and Arts of Oklahoma on Saturday. This marks just the 6th meeting between the 2 programs, but the 2 teams have not met since the 1993-94 season, Tarleton's final season as a NAIA-associated school. The Texans returned 12 letter winners and 4 starters from last season, Lone Star Conference Tournament Championship squad that went 20-10 overall, 10-8 in conference play. Tarleton advanced to its 4th consecutive and 10th overall NCAA Division II South Central Regional after earning the LSC's automatic bid into the tournament. Tarleton will be led by first-team All-LSC selection Chuck Guy and LSC Defensive Player of the Year John Cathley Macklin. Coleman First, who started all 30 games for the Texans in 2012-2013, returns to the squad this season, as does Damian Clemens, Davian Carter, and DeAndre Upchurch. Stacey Murrah and Jasmine Green led a fierce Tarleton offense to a clean sweep of Texas A&M Kingsville Saturday to give the Texans their first victorious sweep since October 5th. As a team, Tarleton hit 282 while holding the Javelinas to just 159. The Texans also topped the 300 plateau in sets 1 and 3 at 308 in the opening set and 381 in the clincher. Tarleton never allowed the Javelinas to make a run in the final set, as Kingsville failed to put together more than 2 consecutive points at any point during the match. The Texans ended the final game 25-20 with a Green kill. Murrah tallied 17 kills while Green notched 12. Green led the team with a .526 hitting percentage on 12 kills, 2 errors, and 19 attacks. Murrah hit .379 for the game. Danielle Barker led the team with 48 assists and added 9 digs to fall one shy of a double-double. Emily Klein led the way with 14 digs, while Kelsey Ragland and Katie Covell notched double-figure digs as well. Tarleton will hit the road for 3 straight away games before ending the regular season at home against Angelo State on November 16th. According to USA Today, there were many great games this weekend in college football, and I had the winners and losers for you. Let's start with the winners. South Carolina. A victory against Mississippi State, one aided greatly by Bulldogs' 5 turnovers, allowed South Carolina to maintain some pace in the hunt for the SEC East Division Championship to win the division. The Gamecocks need to beat Florida on November 16th and see Missouri lose once down the stretch. Perhaps the Texas A&M in the season finale, but even if South Carolina comes up short, this team seems to be saving its best football for November. Wisconsin. Wisconsin's BCS hopes are all contingent on Ohio State. OSU must reach the national championship game to earn the Big Ten a second BCS berth. If the Buckeyes reach the title game, the Badgers could very well earn a spot in the Rose Bowl with an at-large bid. That would demand a 10-2 regular season, something that seems readily achievable given the way Wisconsin cruised past Iowa 28-9. Navy. Navy might have lost to Notre Dame falling 38-34 after failing to convert a 4th down try with 1:08 left, but the midshipmen can find silver lining in Army's loss to Air Force. An Army loss is always cause for celebration at Navy. In this case, however, the cadets' loss gives Navy possession of the Commander-in-Chief's trophy for another year, regardless of the outcome of the pair's end-of-the-year rivalry. It was one win on an otherwise disappointing day for the midshipmen. Now let's talk about some of the losers. Michigan. Losing to rival Michigan State means no bragging rights to at least next season, which hurts. But the immediate damage inflicted by the Spartans' dominating 29-6 win was felt in Michigan's disappearing Rose Bowl hopes. Now 2-2 in Big Ten play, the Wolverines stand well behind the 8 ball in the Legends division. With the Spartans sitting pretty at 5-0, Michigan is playing for a secondary January Bowl. Virginia Tech. In some ways, the Hokies' decline since the start of the 2012 season serves as the evidence of the ACC's growth as a conference, as Virginia Tech now finds far tougher sledding against teams like Duke and Boston College. But Saturday's loss to the Eagles, the Hokies' second loss in a row, serves as the greater evidence of the program's lack of identity on offense. Although the defense remains solid, the Hokies simply cannot move the ball effectively on offense. TCU. It wasn't supposed to be this way. TCU was expected to step right into the Big 12 and compete, taking the same formula the program used to such great success in the Mountain West Conference and parlaying it into immediate BCS contention. After Saturday's loss, TCU is thinking less about a BCS bowl and more about any bowl, and at 3-6, it will take a November run to secure postseason eligibility. That's it for this week's college football winners and losers. Coach Gary Kubiak was taken off the field on a stretcher Sunday night after collapsing near the team's bench on his way to the locker room at halftime during the Houston Texans' 27-24 loss to the Indianapolis Colts. According to NFL.com, Kubiak, 52, was responsive to medical personnel, but he was strapped to a backboard and taken off the field. Kubiak never lost consciousness and did not suffer a heart attack. NFL media Steve Witch reported per the Texans media relations staff, which said Sunday on NFL Network, NFL's Game Day Final, that there seemed to be some sense of relief on the bench that nothing urgent seemed to be in play regarding Kubiak's health. General Manager Rick Smith sounded optimistic Note after the game telling NBC that Kubiak was stable. All his vital signs were positive. Kubiak was lightheaded and dizzy. Hopefully Gary is back with us tomorrow, Smith said. The Texan said the coach was taken to a local hospital for precautionary reasons. He was conscious and had his family with him. Defensive coordinator Wade Phillips took over as acting head coach in the second half, with Houston eventually blowing an 18-point lead to lose the game. Nick Foles said he had thrown 7 touchdown passes in a game before, which tied an NFL record, but it wasn't on an actual field in an actual game. Only in a video game, Foles said, with a laugh. Foles' performance in the Philadelphia Eagles' shockingly easy 49-20 win over the Oakland Raiders on Sunday, however, seemed like it could have only happened in a video game as he completed 22 of 28 passes for 406 yards. The 7 touchdown passes Adrian Burke for the team record, which Burke set in 1954 against the Washington Redskins. 5 other quarterbacks had 7 touchdown passes in a game. It was most recently done by Denver Broncos' Peyton Manning in the season opener against the Baltimore Ravens. It was quite a contrast for Foles' last start when he completed 11 of 29 passes for 80 yards against the Dallas Cowboys on October 20th before leaving after the third quarter with a concussion. "I slowed down everything," Foles said. "I understood what we were trying to do. I wasn't trying to make too many plays. Obviously, there are times when big plays need to be made." He said he had no idea that he had tied an NFL record until Eagles coach Chip Kelly took him out in the fourth quarter and several teammates told him about it. Kelly, however, was well aware that Foles had tied that record because there's a sign in his office marking Burke's accomplishments. But he wasn't going to risk Foles' health to break it, with the game well in hand as the Eagles improved to 4-5. Tony Romo got another chance after throwing a late-game interception at home. This time, he came through. Romo threw for 337 yards and 2 touchdowns, including the go-ahead score to Dwayne Harris with 35 seconds left, and the Dallas Cowboys beat the Minnesota Vikings 27-23 Sunday. Romo's 7-yard pass to Harris answered an 11-yard touchdown by Adrian Peterson that had given Minnesota a 23-20 lead. The East Texas kid raised on the Cowboys and had 140 yards rushing in the game at their $1.2 billion stadium. The Cowboys, who are 5-4, bounced back from a devastating loss at Detroit by avoiding what probably would have been a more damaging defeat. "We just have to keep the belief throughout the whole football game," said Romo, who was 34 of 51. "I never doubted that we would find a way to win this game, and we did it." Christian Ponder threw for a touchdown and ran for another score against his hometown team, but it wasn't enough to avoid a 4th straight loss for the Vikings, who are 1-7. That's all the sports I have for you. Thank you for joining me today on the Texan Sports Minute, where it's always about sports and all you need to know. This has been a product of the Texan News Service. You can read up on your sports or news at texannews.net or follow me on Twitter at Texan News Sports. Special thanks to Alyssa Wynn for producing today. Have a wonderful day, Texans, and don't forget to bleed purple.